Well, I'm actually one of the first ones to purchase the book from that store. As soon as I heard that the new book came out by Emre, who's our Turkish Studies director, and I ran into the Ant store. But the bad thing was they didn't have the book available at the shelves, so I had to go downstairs to the warehouse and grab it myself from the boxes. And actually the executive director and the sales managers are here, they can confirm. So it was a beautiful book. But the first question would be, I know you explained it in detail beautifully, but can you elaborate on how you decided to write this book?
I just saw this video for the first time. It's very beautiful. Thank you very much. There were basically three motivations in writing this book. I think the first one was to, as I said in the video, to say thank you to Turkey for all of these thousands of glasses of tea, which symbolize the many wonderful kindnesses that have been given to me over the past 30 years. The second motivation was to address an American public. I wanted Americans who were unfamiliar with, or perhaps wrongly familiar with Turkey, to understand that this was a country that represented a very intelligent, reasoned, and peaceful voice in the Middle East, and I felt that that was an important message to get across. And thirdly, I think that I wanted this book to serve as some type of a dialogue between our East and West cultures at a difficult time in our political conjuncture, to make sure that people understand that there is a reasoned voice of democracy and peace in the Middle East, and that is Turkey.
Well, my second question is, we know that the book is a compilation of imaginary letters to Lady Mary.
Lady Mary.
But what is the significance of Lady Mary?
Lady Mary is one of my heroes. She was a sparkling wit. She was a brilliant woman who lived in the 18th century. She was English. She was born in a castle that had 275 rooms. She was exquisitely educated. And her husband was appointed as English ambassador to Turkey in 16. And so she went along with him. And during that 13, 14 months she was there, she wrote approximately 55 letters home to friends and family. Half of the letters she's describing her trip through Europe and the trip back, and about half of them were written in Turkey. She was a brilliant writer. I encourage you all to read her letters. She had a very objective eye when she wrote. She never said, oh, these French people do things this way, or these Turks do things this way. She just said, they wear brown shoes. You know, she never passed judgment on things, and that influenced me very much. I said, this is the way one must be. You have to take off your glasses of your culture when you travel, when you go live somewhere else, when you work with different people of different cultures. To just stand back and say, well, it's neither right nor wrong, it's just that's the way it is. So that was kind of she was an inspiration to me, and I said to myself, there were many themes she talks about many things in her letters, such as religion, women, the natural beauty of the country, and many of the same things that struck her struck me 300 years later. So I thought, I'm going to write this woman some letters. So I entered into this imaginary apostolary relationship with her, where I would talk to her about the things she saw and how things are today.
You say that Turkey is far sophisticated from the Istanbul, the elite Istanbul that we all know, and you described the two sides of Turkey, like the western part and the eastern part. Can you elaborate on that?
Talked a little bit out in that clip that you just saw. I come from the great state of Ohio, which is in the Midwest of the United States, and you New Yorkers, when I first came here, first of all, you commented on the fact that I had an accent. you folks do. And I was always made to feel that, oh, you're from Ohio? They were looking for mud on my shoes. And Istanbul is very much the same way. Istanbul is like New York. It's an extremely cosmopolitan city. It's an extremely, I mean, in its location, it has to be. It has a wide population base. It's a very modern city. It's just like New York. It's very crowded. You have to push, you know. So, but that's not the America that I know. My America is the Midwest. So when I first went to the middle and eastern part of Turkey, I said, I'm home. This is very much like what I am used to. There's two very distinct, just like in America, and I think the letter that I'm going to read to you will explain this better, two very distinct Americas. There's two very distinct Turkeys. They're just different. But I feel more at home with the Turkey that is more connected to the earth and nature than Wesley's.
Would you
Yeah,
like to read that?
my editor, who is here, Hussein Shentar, who was, I can call him my dostum now, I think, has asked that I read you a letter that I wrote in the beginning of the book to Lady Mary, explaining my relationship as an American with Turkey. It's called A Home Away from Home. Dear Lady Mary, Turkey is a merciful and accepting country. When I went to Turkey for the first time, I sensed a freedom from the guarded societal structure of Europe. I did not feel like people were always looking at every move I made and waiting for me to make a false step. People were forgiving and kind like those in the America I grew up in. It is perhaps difficult to explain to you, Lady Mary, but when I discovered this land and met its friendly people, I knew I could make myself understood there, for we spoke the same language. You felt as if you were going to an entirely different culture. I, on the other hand, felt that I had somehow oddly returned home. And the more I got to know Turkey, the more I was convinced that it resembled my own country of America on several levels. Firstly, on a personal level, I come from a family of preachers and teachers, and I have never let go of that Midwesterner's goggle-eyed perspective on the city, and certainly on foreign places and other cultures. Those great fallen plains I saw outside of Sivas were just like the great corn and wheat fields of the United States. The rumbling of their tractors, the smell of their mud and manure transported me back to the prairies of my uncle's farm in Kansas. Isnik seemed like a small Ohio village with its main streets lined with sycamores, while Tokat reminded me of a western cowboy town. Life in these towns resembled life in small Midwestern towns, with grain co-ops, tractors, and coffee shops. You can substitute a tea garden for the coffee shop, but the conversation revolving around crops and taxes and the feeling of camaraderie is still the same. People in both countries pepper their conversations with snippets of scripture, and my Midwest and my Turkey are unapologetic in their defense of the same shared values: religion, family, and children, the good earth, community, sharing, simplicity, faith in God and service to Him, love of nature, animals, daily life, love and marriage, combat for survival, and above all, a love of homeland. Did I come away from that first trip with any prejudices against Turks? I don't think so, because I am an American and not a European, so I was not branded with the stigma of the terrible Turk knocking at the doors of Vienna. I only had images of Turks fighting shoulder to shoulder with my countrymen in Korea and standing by our side.